Colorado gets 90 million visitors a year. They all go to the same 5 places: Rocky Mountain National Park, Garden of the Gods, Maroon Bells, and the ski resorts along Interstate 70. But here's the thing most people do not realize. The most jaw-dropping landscapes in this state are not on a single tourist map. Some of them sit on the flat eastern plains where nobody thinks to look. Others are buried behind roads so rough that Google Maps will not even route you there. These are 10 places in Colorado that look like they belong in Iceland, New Zealand, or another planet entirely, and almost nobody knows they exist. The place that shouldn't exist. We're starting with a place that proves the point. The most alien landscape in Colorado is hiding on the flattest, most boring-looking stretch of plains in the state. Drive 45 minutes east of Colorado Springs, and the world turns to flat grassland. Nothing but cattle, windmills, and silence for miles. You would swear you made a wrong turn. But then the ground opens up and drops you into a hidden canyon full of hoodoos and spires striped in purple, orange, rust, and white. Colors so vivid the formations look hand-painted. This is the Paint Mines Interpretive Park, a 750-acre geological wonder carved by erosion over tens of thousands of years. The clay layers contain iron oxides, manganese, and selenium, each one staining the stone a different color. From above, you would never guess any of it was there. Evidence of human activity here goes back 9,000 years. Native Americans harvested these colorful clays for ceremonial paint and pottery, returning to the site generation after generation because the pigments were unlike anything else on the plains. The formations themselves change constantly. Each rainstorm carves new shapes, collapses old spires, and exposes fresh layers of color that have been buried for millennia. The site is free, open year-round, and most lifelong Coloradans have never heard of it. You can walk through a landscape that looks like it was ripped from the Utah desert, an hour from a city of 500,000 people, and have it entirely to yourself on a Tuesday afternoon. Colorado's forgotten wonder. But the Paint Mines isn't the only place Colorado forgot about. There's a spot in the San Juan Mountains that was once so famous it almost became a national park, but today almost no one alive has been there. Wheeler Geologic Area was one of the most celebrated natural attractions in the state at the turn of the 20th century. Postcards circulated across the country. The federal government designated it a national monument in 1908. But the road to Wheeler deteriorated, access got harder, and by 1943 the site recorded fewer than 50 visitors for the entire year. The government quietly stripped its monument status in 1950 and more or less stopped talking about it. Today almost nobody goes. To reach Wheeler, you either hike 14 miles round trip through backcountry that tests your navigation skills, or navigate a brutal 4-wheel drive road that chews through tires and transmissions with equal enthusiasm. What you find when you arrive is a forest of white and tan volcanic pinnacles, spires, and towers rising from the forest floor like a city built by wind and time. Some formations stand 60 feet tall, carved into shapes that look like melting cathedrals or the ruins of a civilization that never existed. Photographs do not do justice to this place. The scale, the silence, the strangeness of it. It only makes sense when you are standing in the middle of it. Wheeler is arguably the most visually extraordinary natural formation in Colorado, and it sits completely abandoned. The national park, nobody visits. If Colorado can forget about an entire geologic wonder, it should not surprise you that it also has a full national park that most Americans could not name. Colorado has 4 national parks. 3 of them, Rocky Mountain, Mesa Verde, and Great Sand Dunes, pull millions of visitors. The 4th, Black Canyon of the Gunnison, is the least visited and arguably the most dramatic. The canyon walls plunge 2,250 feet at the Painted Wall, Colorado's tallest cliff face. The rock is so dark and ancient that some of it is nearly 2 billion years old, Precambrian gneiss and schist twisted by forces that predate complex life on Earth. The gorge is so narrow in places that sunlight only reaches the river for 33 minutes a day. The Gunnison River carved this over 2 million years, almost straight down rather than wide, creating a slot so deep and tight that standing on the rim feels less like looking at a canyon and more like peering into a crack in the planet. It is also a certified international dark sky park, meaning the stargazing rivals anywhere in the country. But not all hidden places in Colorado were forgotten by accident. Some were hidden by the land itself, locked behind roads so treacherous that only the most determined ever reach them. 90 minutes from Aspen and accessible only by high-clearance four-wheel drive or on foot, sits a wooden powerhouse perched on a rock ledge above a roaring waterfall. Crystal Mill looks like something designed for a theme park. It is real. It is on the National Register of Historic Places, and it has been standing since 1893. The mill was built to power nearby silver mines using a water turbine fed by the falls of the Crystal River. When the mines closed, the mill just stayed. The tiny ghost town of Crystal surrounds it, a handful of sagging buildings from a mining settlement that collapsed from sheer isolation. Supplies had to be hauled in over mountain passes that closed for 6 months a year, and when the silver economy dried up, there was no reason left to make the trip. A few people still live here during summer, caretaking properties that have been standing for over a century in a valley so remote that winter buries it completely. Beyond Crystal, the road climbs toward Schofield Pass, one of the most dangerous drives in Colorado. A narrow shelf carved into a cliff face above a canyon drop where the margin for error is measured in inches. The mill survives because the road keeps most people away, and the road keeps most people away because the mountains refuse to make it easy. The hot spring, with no entrance fee. The pattern in Colorado is clear. The best stuff is behind the worst roads, and nowhere proves that better than a free hot spring most people will never find. Most Colorado hot springs have been commercialized beyond recognition. Ticket counters, locker rooms, concrete pools, gift shops, and $40 admission fees. The experience of soaking in naturally heated water has been packaged into something that feels more like a water park than a wilderness encounter. But south of Kremling, on the banks of the Colorado River, there is a naturally warm pool sitting right on the riverbank. No building, no fee, no crowds, no signage worth noticing. You reach Radium Hot Springs by hiking, paddling downstream in a kayak, or bouncing down a rough four-wheel drive road that discourages anyone who is not committed. The pool is modest, warm water seeping up through gravel at the river's edge. In cooler months, steam rises off the surface while the Colorado River rushes past a few feet away. This is what every hot spring in Colorado used to be before the tourism industry found them and started charging admission. The Colorado that looks like Africa. If you think a free hot spring on a riverbank is underrated, wait until you see the part of Colorado that most Coloradans pretend does not exist. Eastern Colorado is prairie, wide open, treeless, and to most drivers, nothing more than the boring stretch you endure before the mountains appear. People roll up their windows, set the cruise control, and mentally check out for 2 hours. But Pawnee National Grassland is a landscape that looks more like the Serengeti than the Rockies. Dramatic beauties rise from golden grass, their sandstone faces catching the light like monuments in a land that time forgot. Pronghorn antelope move in herds across terrain so open you can watch them from miles away. Raptors circle overhead in wide, patient arcs. The birding here is some of the best in the state. Prairie chickens perform elaborate mating dances at dawn. Burrowing owls stand sentinel outside their holes. And lark buntings flash black and white wings across a sky so wide it seems to curve at the edges. At dawn or dusk, when the light hits the Pawnee Buttes and the grass turns copper, it is one of the most photogenic landscapes in Colorado. And you may be the only person for miles in any direction. This is the Colorado that does not make the tourism brochures, because the tourism industry decided decades ago that beauty in this state only comes with elevation. The wilderness with no cell signal. If the grasslands are Colorado's forgotten floor, then the flat tops are its forgotten ceiling. A 235,000-acre wilderness so empty that cell towers never bothered to reach it. The Flat Tops Wilderness is one of the largest wilderness areas in the state, a high plateau country of alpine meadows, glacial lakes, and elk herds so large they darken entire hillsides during autumn migrations. It is also one of the least visited. No paved road crosses it. Cell service does not exist anywhere inside its boundaries. The terrain is too high and too flat for ski resorts, so the tourism industry never built anything here. No lifts, no lodges, no base villages, no reason for a marketing department to care. The Chinese Wall, a dramatic cliff face cutting across the plateau, is one of the most impressive geological features in the state, and most hikers have never heard of it. The flat tops exist in a strange category: too remote for casual visitors, too subtle for viral photographs, and too quiet to compete with the spectacle of the 14ers and ski towns. The darkest sky you'll ever see. The flat tops aren't the only place in Colorado where the absence of people is the entire point. There is a reservoir system where the real show does not start until after dark. Curricanti National Recreation Area sits between Gunnison and Montrose. It includes 3 turquoise reservoirs nestled below craggy volcanic mesas. During the day, it is beautiful but quiet. Anglers drift in small boats, osprey dive for trout, and the water reflects the cliffs and shades that shift with every passing cloud. Most visitors experience it for about 10 minutes before getting back on Highway 50 and continuing west. But at night, Curricanti transforms. The light pollution here is almost zero. The nearest significant city is hours away in every direction. When the sun drops behind the mesas, the Milky Way stretches across the sky so clearly you can see the dark dust lanes between its spiral arms. Rangers lead stargazing programs in the summer, pointing telescopes at Saturn's rings and the Andromeda Galaxy from the reservoir shoreline. The silence is so complete you become aware of your own heartbeat. Most people drive right through this corridor without stopping, never knowing they are passing one of the darkest skies in America. Colorado's most beautiful ruin. If Colorado hides its natural wonders this well, imagine what happened to its man-made ones. There's a 19th century luxury resort standing empty in the wilderness, and you can walk right up to it. On the far side of Twin Lakes, a 4-mile hike through an aspen grove leads to the remains of the Interlaken Hotel and Resort. Built in 1879 during the silver mining boom, it was called the most beautiful resort in Colorado by newspapers of the era. Mining investors, railroad barons, and socialites came here by stagecoach to escape the summer heat and take in views of the Sawatch Range. The hotel had manicured grounds, a boathouse, guest cabins, and the kind of Victorian ambition that only silver money could buy. Then the silver market crashed, the guests stopped coming, and the stagecoach routes were abandoned one by one. Today it's a ghost resort, buildings still standing, porches sagging under the weight of 145 winters, windows dark and empty. The lake laps at the shore just as it did when guests sat on that porch watching the sun drop behind the Sawatch Range. It is one of the best preserved historic settlements in Colorado. It is free, and on most days you will have it entirely to yourself. There is something about standing in a place that was once full of laughter and music and finding it silent, with only the wind and the water left, that stays with you longer than any mountain view. The road that ends the argument. If there is one place that ends the argument about where the most beautiful hidden spot in Colorado actually is, it is a road most GPS systems do not even recognize. The Owl Creek Pass Road climbs through the towering Cimarron Ridge, topping out at 10,114 feet before dropping toward Silverjack Reservoir. Along the way, you pass a formation called the Castles, volcanic spires so dramatic they look like something a computer invented. Columns of dark breccia and tuff rise hundreds of feet from forested slopes, carved by millions of years of frost, wind, and water into towers that defy every expectation of what Colorado geology is supposed to look like. The entire drive is unpaved and unmarked on most tourist maps. No entrance fee, no reservation system, no crowds. Just one of the most visually staggering stretches of road in the American West, sitting in complete obscurity while 90 million visitors crowd the same 5 overlooks along Interstate 70. This is what Colorado looks like when nobody is watching, and that might be the most beautiful thing about it.